Hello everyone, welcome to Officer 24/7. My name is Nihar Kavalia Bhatnagar and I am with you with the specific area of accounting and financial management for bankers. And today I'm going to talk about the specific area of trial balance. What do you mean by the term trial balance, everyone? Once you're done with their of journal, ledger, trial balance, actually journal and ledger, then you need to compile something. What are we compiling? All the transactions which have happened in the organization, every single thing that is happening from pin to an elephant, whatever is happening is recorded. But the fact is, after a certain period of time, the day the manager asks that I want to know what's the status, will you tell him that this is the 1235 transactions for you? Just go through it and sir, you'll come to know. He'll be furious. He'll be like, if I am giving you the specific position, that simply means that you are supposed to tell me the summarized form of these transactions. The way you are telling me is not going to suffice my entire working there. So whenever these things happen, I have to be very opened up to that fact that he might be asking me ki provide us the summarized format. You know? So when we are trying to create these summarized formats, that is what we are covering in the trial balance. It's basically a working paper. It's not even a very important or mandatory thing. It's a working note. It's actually a working note statement which is prepared just after the ledger, and it's basically done just to check the arithmetical accuracy. Okay, with this everyone, good evening, and my name is Nihar Kavalia Bhatnagar, and you are on our on our channel JIB English Medium. I hope I'm audible as well as clearly visible, and I hope you're all doing fine right now. Please share the session, like the session, and also subscribe to the channel right away, everyone, because that's an important element again. Chaliye, starting with this particular note, let's continue with the particular session and talk about the various elements of trial balance. What is trial balance, everyone? It's basically a statement. I told you it's a statement. It's basically a summarized statement, right? So when we talk about the summarized statement, what happens in this? When we talk about this specific statement, it talks about the movement of the entire ledger balances into one particular statement where everything is noted together. And when it's noted together, you come to know, okay, the organization head has asked me that what is the total amount of capital. So I just have to go through the particular list. Here it is, the capital, right? So this is what the clarity they are looking forward to. So this is how we prepare our books of accounts. Now, when we talk about this specific area altogether, it's basically a statement. It is just to maintain the accuracy check. Everyone, debit is equal to credit. You take all the debits, you take all the credits, you prepare one particular statement. It should always match, because debit and credit are matching in individual journal. How could this happen that this will not match in the total ones? So it has to match at every single place. So once it matches at every single nook and corner, that is where you do the accuracy check. Next part is error indicator. It talks about indication of all the errors that are happening in the organization, which are arithmetical in nature, not the big errors, everyone, of course. It can find out only the small, minute, and minor errors. Okay, next point. That is objectives of trial balance. When we define the term objectives of trial balance, how do we say this? Objectives of trial balance includes accuracy check. Basically, what does it do? It helps you to check out the specific area of plus minus mistakes which is done in the ledger. Right, that's one part. Then the next part that we can find is the area of financial statement base. See, this is a statement which contains all the specific journal entries, then ledger that we have created. Once you have created everything accordingly, your financial statement base is ready. Then from this list, you prepare your profit and loss account and your balance sheet. Last is error detection. When your debit is not equal to credit, then you know that there is something wrong with my statement, and then you can find it out and correct it right away. Right? Okay. Coming on to the next point, everyone. Limitations of trial balance. If trial balance was so good, then there was no need to prepare P&L and balance sheet, isn't it? There are certain problems. If there is something which is already recorded on the debit and the credit side, this mistake cannot be corrected till the time the auditor doesn't come and say, "Arey, this entry is wrong. How come this has been recorded in the books of accounts?" Right? So till the time he doesn't say that this is how we are looking forward to, till then we do not know what to do with it, right? So whenever we talk about the transactions, then we have to make sure the transaction is recorded correctly. If it is recorded in an incorrect manner, you just cannot detect it until or unless the auditor comes and says that this is a particular mistake, which is I can find out from the vouchers where you are going wrong. You need to correct it, right? So, based upon this, what do we have? These are the limitations. That means there are certain parts of this trial balance which cannot be seen. Omission, something which is not recorded from the very beginning. You won't find it in the trial balance because trial balance will, in any case, match because the transaction is not completely noted. And at the same time, matching of a trial balance it doesn't mean that your transactions are absolutely glitch free, error free. They will always say there might be a part of the error which is concealed or which is not known to us. So then it is something which is basically an inconclusive evidence, right? When we talk about inconclusive evidence means we are putting all the debits and all the credits. How do you know you haven't recorded the all those particular entries properly, right? Obviously, till the time the okay, let's talk about this part. I was recording an expense and I wrote the expense, paid in cash, and I paid it for 100 rupees. Okay, continuing further, everyone. When I have an expense, what would I do? Expense to cash. Have I paid the expense? And if what if there was an expense? Okay, this is a practical problem that we have faced at one point of time. Now, I used to work in a CA firm at that point of time. There was a particular person. We were an article, so I was an article there. You work as article clerk and you go through the training there. So there was another article. What happened was they were recording all the vouchers, and unfortunately, one of the vouchers fell down from the file and nobody knew that this voucher was not recorded at all. Later on, after a few days, somewhere down the line, in the any specific drawer, they found out that this particular voucher belongs to that particular company, and we realized that that particular voucher was not recorded in their entries. So this is what happens even if something is not recorded from the very beginning, you won't even find the mistake in your trial balance. And yes, it would be wrong at that point of time as well. So that is where it is basically an inconclusive evidence. Take and everything match. That doesn't mean that your trial balance is absolutely error free. That's one important point there. Everyone, there are different methods. First is balancing method. Under balancing method, what do? You prepare a T-shaped ledger. In this ledger, you have your debit side, your credit side. Whenever one of the sides does not match, so you record the balancing figure. Okay, either it can be balance carried down on the debit side or balance carried down on the credit side. It can be either. There is no point that there would be brought down or the carried down can be on the debit side or on the credit side only. There is no fixity. So you can have it at any point of time. So basically the carried downs are basically what? Your debit side total was 10K, credit side total was 12K. That means the debit side has fallen short by 2K. So once you put this 2K, this is your balancing figure, and you take this balancing figure in your trial balance is called balance method, the most reliable method and the only method which is actually used. Second method, more or less useless method. It is not used that much. Actually, we don't use it at all. To be very honest, I've been working in all these accounting firms and all. We have never used it because this method says that you record on the debit side if the total was 10, you record it as 10. On the credit side, if the total was 12, you record it as 12. Once you have prepared the entire statement, after this, what you can do is 12 minus 10. That means there would be a debit side. You'll be having more amount of 2k. That doesn't make sense. If after completing the statement, you have to recalculate everything in the statement, it's not worth it. This method is not preferable at all. Last method is once you have a lot of time to waste, that is where you can look forward to it. Why? Because total method is also used and balance method is also used. They say you take up debit and credit number one, and you take debit and credit number two. In this case, what is happening is under the total method, you are picking up the totals, and under the balancing method, you are picking up balancing. And then both these things are created for every element. This particular method is practically not used at all. Okay, so that's what we talk about this specific area altogether. Done, everyone? चलिए जी, now talking towards the next point there. What do we have? In terms of the trial balance format, it's absolutely easy. Recently, I took a specific class on the concept golden rules of accounting. It was based upon this only. First of all, when we talk about trial balance, the first 3 points, DEA, drawings, expenses, and assets. These three always have a debit balance. Then LER, liabilities, equity, and revenue. They will always be found on the credit side. That's the nature of these things. Okay, equity or capital can be on the debit side only if it has been too much withdrawn from the organization. That means if you have taken a lot of money out of the business, then it will turn negative in nature. ठीक है ना? Done? Done, everybody? चलिए. Now talking about this area, let's move on and talk about the next part further. When we talk about dealer, always remember first three. DEA will always be on the debit side increase, and the last three, LER, will always be on the credit side when there's an increase. Then comes suspense account. Everyone, not every time my trial balance will match. When my trial balance will not match, what will I do? When the trial balance will not match, I will go through my books of accounts, and where debit is not equal to credit, then I do not know where's the mistake. So that is, you create a dummy account which is called the suspense account. So this is basically just a dummy account that we create in order to find out where the specific problem lies. Once you note down all these suspense account based entries together, and then you start correcting all those wrong entries, slowly and steadily you disintegrate the suspense account and kill it altogether. You cannot continue your finalization of your balance sheet with a suspense account. It's not allowed. Okay, now comes all the methods that we have looked forward to. This is an important area. What are the different types of errors? Just a moment. Chaliye. Talking about the specific area of errors, everyone. What are errors, everyone? Is this something I do intentionally? No. There's a difference between errors and mistakes, है ना? Fault, actually fraud and mistake. Or errors is basically something which has happened in the organization which I didn't want to do. It just happened, right? When we talk about errors, errors means anything which has happened and that is not intentional. And in this case, what happens is that your organization has two types of errors overall. Number one is When we talk about these errors now, principle of errors and clerical errors, these are two different types of errors that we find in any organization. Principle is based upon the accounting part, that is, when we talk about this is based upon the error which is made in terms of rules and regulations, and clerical is slightly different: omission, commission, and compensating. Let's talk about these in detail, everyone. Go through this and I'll be back in a minute. So when we define the specific area of errors of omission, omission means to forget it altogether. When there is any error that you totally forget about, that is how we define errors of omission. That means to forget. Complete omission means something is not recorded on the debit side as well as the credit side. This will never cause an imbalance in your trial balance because it is not recorded on the debit side nor on the credit side. That means you cannot detect it. Partial omission, however, can be found out. Why? Because in this case, what happens is you have recorded something on the debit side, but not on the credit side. Then this is a mismatch, and you can trace it down, right? Purchase of goods not recorded in the journal. This means the entire transaction has been missed out. That's error of omission for you. Next point, errors of commission. When we define the errors of commission, what happens in this case is there is something that we have recorded wrongly. There was a particular person named Ram. Instead of his account, I recorded something in the name of Mr. RAAM Ram. Nobody knows, right? Sometimes what happens is you create multiple accounts as well of the same name without knowing that particular account already exists. So in this case, you make a mistake and multiple accounts are created or multiple accounts get affected. When such a thing happens, this is a commission error. When we talk about it, it can be because you might be calculating too much of zeros and you might have missed out one, or what can happen is you have added one more zero. So these are basically errors of commission. Incorrect recording of the transaction in the books of accounts, and there is a lack of concentration and carelessness. Last is posting purchase total to the credit side of the purchase account. That is what people make mistake in. Sometimes you record something on the wrong account, or sometimes the wrong amount, sometimes in the wrong name. All these things exist. Then comes an error which is called compensating errors, the errors which just cannot be traced. Under this, what happens is everyone, I think let's increase the specific size of the particular container. It becomes easier for you to read. Visible now, everyone? Compensating errors means directly compensated. You make an error, but the error is on the debit side as well as on the credit side, and since it's existing both the places, it is difficult to trace it down. Okay, that is how we define these particular errors altogether. Done. So when we define the specific area of errors which are compensating in nature, they are basically those errors where the debit side is also wrong, the credit side is also wrong. So in this case, what happens is even if you want to record everything in a proper manner, you have to admit that you have made a mistake, right? Chaliye. Now talking about the specific area altogether, this was a specific error that we are making in the books of accounts. Done. Chaliye then. Let's move on and talk about the other area of this particular transaction, and that would be our MCQs. Before that, let's end this particular topic in a proper manner, everyone. When we talk about the specific area of mechanism, wrong debits or wrong credits, you have made it both the sides. That means ultimately it just surprisingly just matches. Overall, it shouldn't even match, but it matches because of this scenario altogether. ठीक है ना? So चलिए, now talking about the next part. Rectification, this rectification can be done at any point of time. There's no specific area ki nahi, this cannot be done after this much amount of time, or there is a time tenure under which it can happen. Rather, this can happen at any point of time in your books of accounts. Whenever you want to make it correct, you can make it correct. So if you can make it correct, what will happen is the books of accounts are absolutely correct. So that correction happens only when you are opting and giving the freedom to correct your books of accounts at any point of time. ठीक है? चलिए then, let's talk about the MCQ there. When we talk about rectification before trial balance, you can do it at any point of time just by putting a journal. After trial balance, you have to open up suspense account, and in your next accounting period also you can correct it by putting up the journal entry and admitting that you have made a mistake. That is more important that you do. Right? Next part, everyone. Which of the following errors will not affect your trial balance? We have talked about this already. Huh? So which of the errors will not affect your trial balance? There is an omission. Okay, when we talk about this area, what is the particular question? Omission of a transaction, posting of debit entry into the wrong account with the correct amount, or a wrong totaling of the subsidiary book, or recording a transaction with both the debit and the credit entries reversed. Everybody, what's gonna be the answer? When we talk about this specific error altogether, the question says which is not affected the trial balance. Errors will not, okay. When we talk about the error which will not affect us, there is only one point, that is omission of a transaction. When you completely, which omission everyone? Complete omission is the only area where we will not affect the entire uh, books of accounts in terms of errors. We will affect only a certain part, and that is we forget to record it. Only that part is basically something which we have to again inculcate in the books of accounts. Matlab, that is something which we have definitely forgot to record now. So from the very beginning, the things are not recorded. So we are clear about the fact that since it is not recorded from the very beginning, so we are clear about that fact that we have to record it all together. It has been missed out, no debit, no credit. So in this case, it is hard to trace it out. Next point. A suspense account is used in trial balance when? When do you use that account which is called the suspense account, everyone? Suspense account is basically a dummy account, right? Why would we create this dummy account? This dummy account can be created because of all transactions are posted correctly. There's a mismatch between debit and credit. All subsea books are totaled correctly. Or last one, errors of principles are identified. Error of principle is basically an error under which you make rule-based mistakes. Your DEA, all these things are debit, drawings, expenses, and assets. So these three things are always on the debit side. If I wrongly classify an expense as an asset or asset as an expense, the problem is not related to the area of debit or credit. The point is nature of thing that goes wrong. In this case, there is a point that will happen is all transactions are posted correctly, then there is no need to have a suspense account. It is absolutely fine. Second is there is a mismatch between debit and credit totals. That is correct. That there is a problem between debit and credit. That is why we are trying to trace it down. And if we are not able to, then there's a mismatch. All subsea books are totaled correctly, then there is no need to do that. Errors of principles is basically error of rules. When rule-based mistakes are done, they are hard to find, right? So the answer is there is a mismatch between the debits and the credit totals. Done, everybody? Got the idea? Now comes the next part, which is a cash purchase of rupees 5,000 was wrongly debited to the purchase account and credited to the cash account. This error is error of omission, error of commission, compensating error, or error of principle. Cash purchase of 5,000. 5,000 was wrongly debited to purchase account and credited to cash account. There is nothing wrong with it. If we make a purchase, it is actually purchases account debit to cash. This is not even an error. This has to be created in this have to be edited further. So if I really have to correct the question only, a cash purchase of, let's make it like that way, of an asset. Okay? If we purchase an asset and we record it as an expense, then we have to correct it in the books of accounts, right? That correction is done, and this particular error is called the error of principle. Done, everyone? Anyhow, let's end the session here itself. I hope you were able to get through the particular topics. But everyone, wait a second. Before I end my session, do you know our current courses are available at a great discount? Just go on to the area of JIB and CIB, go on to the area of JIB May 2025. Our Increment Pro batches are out, everyone. These batches are available for you. So what you can do is, if you go into the English medium area, just click on the area of buy now. Use the specific code Y541 and you can get our courses at the maximum discount of 4241.79. 79% discount is going on, so make sure you are using this particular opportunity for your betterment. So, everyone, thank you so much for being there. And overall, if you haven't taken up our courses, hurry up. Our JIB CIB batches are just about to start. So, join us before time so that you are ahead of everybody and ahead of time as well, to be very honest, for your JIB CIB preparation. So, everyone, but for that, this particular sale is very soon ending. So, before the sale ends, please make sure that you have joined our courses right away. Thank you so much for being there. I'll be meeting you in the next session where I will be talking about all these topics further. Done? Chaliye then. Thank you so much for being there. I'll be meeting you in the next session. Thank you and bye bye.